Aloha party people, how's everyone doing out there? I think this is our third video of the day. Now this is Sabby Sabbs. I don't know if I've covered her on this channel yet. This is one of my favorite left-wing podcasts, YouTube channels, whatever you call it. She does the news and she's really good. She's all the way on the left. This is a great representation of someone on the left. So if you're like, all Democrats are left and you hate and you hate the left and you think Democrats are the left and you think all the left is outrageous and ignorant and stuff, check her channel out or watch this channel. She will give you a different idea. So this is her going over Charlamagne the God when he was on The View, the double standard that they were talking about, Joe Biden pardoning Hunter Biden.
This one's pretty funny. We're going to look at something here. Charlamagne the God was on The View, and he's calling out Joe Biden choosing to pardon his son, Hunter Biden. You guys know how I feel about that. I told you I thought that was ridiculous. I get it. That's his son, etc. But I said it was very hypocritical for the Democratic Party to do that, considering that they, pointed fingers at Trump when he decided to pardon certain people as well. I also said, if anything, Joe Biden should have been pardoning people that were victims of his crime bill. That's what he should have been doing. And he's been in office for 4 years, so he easily could have gotten that shit done. So there's that. But now it seems like even Charlamagne, who is definitely, pro-Democrat, was rooting for Kamala Harris, was not fond of Biden being the nominee and criticized him, but at the same time said he would still vote for him because he's not going to vote for Donald Trump.
Basically calling Charlamagne the God a liberal, as I would.
He went on to The View recently and pushed back against the women on The View about that particular issue, the pardon issue. And I want you to hear how this conversation went. Let's dive in here.
Charlamagne the God has been a vocal force in the media throughout the 2024 presidential race, and he's joining us now at the table. Please welcome back the author of the book, Get Honest or Die Lying, Charlamagne the God.
Thank you for having me back.
Okay, so my question is, after the election, you said that you were disappointed but optimistic. How are you feeling right now?
I feel the same way because, what's the other option?
Right, just like Jank. What's the other option, really? Like, you can be disappointed, but you should always be kind of optimistic, right? You just got to hope for the best, right?
I'm a country boy.
Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
From Moncks Corner, South Carolina, raised on a dirt road. So, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness, my grandmother was a Baptist. So I still believe in this higher power called God.
Yeah.
And, you can't believe in God when, things go your way.
That's a little bit odd that he would call himself the God, because most people who believe in God say you shouldn't represent yourself as God or a God.
And not believe in God when things don't go your way. So at a time like this, you just got to remember your serenity prayer, which is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because you can't change nothing.
I love that.
First of all, I want to point out that title there of his book, which is basically a play on words from 50 Cent's album, Get Rich or Die Trying. It's interesting to me. He's like, get honest or die lying or whatever. You ain't being honest either, bro. You're not being honest either. And I think we can all see that. I pointed out before that Charlamagne is one that you need to keep an eye on because, again, I remember when Charlamagne was on the radio in Columbia, South Carolina, when I was a student at the University of South Carolina. So I know when he was part of local radio. And I remember when he left and he went to go do the Wendy Williams show back when Wendy Williams was still on the radio. So I remember old school Charlamagne the God, right? And what's interesting to me is we have to ask this question. How did Charlamagne get to where he is so swiftly?
Before she goes, however he gets there, I haven't watched this yet. But one thing I do like about Charlamagne the God is that he does bring people on the Breakfast Club. He brings on Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. He brought on Larry Elder, who's a pretty far right black man. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing now, but he ran for like mayor, I think, of Seattle or something. He brought on Brian Donaldson, excuse me. And like, share, subscribe. Back to Sabrina.
And this is not to say that he didn't put in the work, but most people I know, and you guys, I told you there's people that they pick out. Most people that I know that have dropped out of high school, and this I'm not shaming on high school dropouts. There are people in my family that dropped out of high school, so don't take this the wrong way. But most people that I know that have dropped out of high school, they don't get those types of opportunities just handed to them.
What you know about a beauty school dropout?
Charlamagne has been handed multiple opportunities. He's written multiple books. He gets to go into corporate media over and over and over again. So Charlamagne is one that I see that is a tool that the establishment uses and the Democratic Party also uses to try to get black people in line.
Like Roland Martin,
and I say that because the Breakfast Club, the show, The Breakfast Club, has a majority black audience, right? It's a hip hop show that talks also a little bit about politics, but they become more politically heavily as we get into the election. And they'll interview like presidents and all that kind of stuff and presidential candidates at the same time.
They should have tried to have Trump on. He probably would have came on. They had a dang, I was about to call her Hillary. They had Kamala on. Like I said, they had Jill Stein on. I bet Trump would have came on.
I'm Winnie Gabriel, a
sorry about
and
the
a basketball player representing South Sudan.
Green Party, y'all, leave a comment.
It's a hip hop culture show. And a number of times people will ask, like, how is it that all of these people on the Breakfast Club, how is it that they get to have these conversations, these political discussions with people when they don't have the political expertise? But there's people who do have the political expertise and they can't get an interview with any of those people. So again, remember.
So I think everybody should have access to politicians, everybody that's anyway halfway serious. Like the Breakfast Club should have access, but people with more political expertise should have access, even if they have a smaller channel like mine.
When it comes to access, a lot of times people are willing to talk to those that are not going to push back on them too much, or they're willing to talk to those that they think don't know too much about the system or about what they're doing.
But see, that's one good thing about Trump is he'll go talk to anybody. He'll take the pushback or take the softball interviews.
And they can get by. So keep that in mind. Now let's get to the Joe Biden part.
Especially the wisdom to know the difference, right?
We can't change anything.
Can't.
I mean, you know.
Not yet.
Well, 4 years from now, I guess.
Or two. You never know. But let me ask you this. Like, Trump's campaign ads for some, they're saying they were very effective. And in one in particular ad, he used a clip of you from the Breakfast Club saying, quote, Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners. You say that line was taken out of context. I know it was. But it went on to become one of his most effective campaign ads. I'm also featured in one of his campaign ads.
You might have been 1 and 2.
Yeah. I was. He texted me and let me know that.
Context.
No. No, it wasn't. But what were you actually saying in the clip? And can you please explain that? And how does it make you feel that the campaign used you like that?
Well, it's never good to be taken out of context, but I was explaining to my listeners how effective I thought the actual ad was. Like, you know, the ad was effective before I was in it. I was just sitting at home watching football and I saw it and I was like, whoa. And so I knew the immediate reaction was going to be, you know, people are going to say, hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that. So I was explaining that to my listeners. So, I mean, yeah, it never feels good to be taken out of context, but what I didn't like the most was that they didn't do anything to combat it. Right. I would have ran the same ad and just said, Donald Trump, you know, what is it? Donald Trump supports, what was it?
He was the one that was supporting
Yes, Donald Trump supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners. I would have ran the same ad because it was legislation under him as well. And you know what else I would have did if I was our campaign? Since Donald Trump used me, I would have used Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan said Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. Joe Rogan said he thought Donald Trump was, I think, unhinged was the quote.
Right.
You got to mix it up. You got to get dirty with these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to muddy the waters a little bit, cause confusion.
Yeah. Let me ask you something that's going on.
So this is another example where they're going to Charlamagne the God for political expertise, right? So see how notice how you don't see them going to other people in independent media for political expertise. People who have been doing this for years, not even me, because I haven't been doing this as long, but I'm talking about people who have been doing this for like 8, 9, 10 years. Notice you don't see them going to those people. They go to Charlamagne the God who hosts a hip hop show.
Around right now, a lot of this conversation about President Biden are getting criticized from both sides of the aisle for pardoning his son Hunter after repeatedly saying he would never do it. And a lot of people are saying that it's hypocritical, etc., as if the other side doesn't do it. But what's your reaction to it?
I mean, I think all of the criticism is valid because, you know, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time. And, you know, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, you know, whether or not, you know, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now. But since they were calling Trump a threat to democracy, and they were saying that, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him. That's what they were running on. So when he kept saying things like, nobody's above the law, I respect, the jury's decision in regards to my son, he didn't believe that. But he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you.
So I agree with that part there. I do agree with this part where he said Joe Biden didn't even have to give any response to that. He really didn't. Sometimes sometimes no response is a response, and you don't have to answer every question, and then people wouldn't have been able to say, oh, well, you lied. Now I can still point to him and say, you should have pardoned the victims of the crime bill. You've had 4 years in office to do that. I could still say that.
I love that idea.
But I agree with him with that point there. Now watch this.
For a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a sudden?
I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over. And this is just my feeling, because at some point you get to the place where you just go, so I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault.
When did Joe Biden follow the straight and narrow?
Right? Never.
When did Joe Biden follow the straight and narrow? Was it when he lied about marching with civil rights leaders? Was it when he was buddy with Strom Thurmond and Byrd, those racist mofos down south? Was that him following the straight and narrow? Was it when he said he didn't want his kids to grow up in a racial jungle? Was it when he allegedly assaulted Tara Reid? They keep trying to paint this picture of Joe Biden as though he never did anything wrong, as if he's perfect. Nobody's perfect. We've all done things that are wrong and things that we may not be proud of. But the image that they're trying to paint of him, it's almost as if they're trying to prevent Joe Biden from having a tainted legacy. And based on the poll that I just saw today, the majority of voters voted and said that Joe Biden is the worst president in history.
Dang. All right, well, they got the weed whackers going on outside, and I don't want to be buzzing all up in y'all's ears and whatnot. So like, share, subscribe. Go check out Sabby Sabbs' channel. Her channel is Sabby Sabbs. Her name is Sabrina Salvati. She's a great left-wing news source. Watch her to stay informed. And I'm going to let y'all go. No buzz, no buzz.